Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight, Kyiv time, on Saturday, the 28th of February, 2026, which makes this the news and events for Friday, the 27th of February, day 1465 of Russia's war of aggression, Russia's 3-day special military operation in Ukraine. How do you do? I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5. Hey, Chef Deb. Hey, Richard Prexis. The peeps are coming in. Hey, Scotty, Kia Ora. How's everybody doing tonight? How is everybody doing tonight? Hey, Victoria. Hey, Lola. Hey, David Keller. Nice to see you. Tefal. Hello. Hey, Hart. Hey, Anthony. How you doing? When? Good evening. Nicola Jones is here. Hey, Nicola. Hey, Stu. Hey, Jerry O. My buddy Jerry O from Ireland. How you doing, Jerry O? Hetty Yankee. Happy Friday, TGIF, everybody. We made it through another week, somehow. Hey, G2. Somehow we've made it through another week. Hey, Gilly. Like the Beatles said, with a little help from my friends. With a little help from my friends. Hey, Lil Red. Hey, Truth Hurts. Hey, Feisty. Evening, Matthew. Hey, Bjorn. I don't know anything but good vibes that come from the Netherlands. God knows the Netherlands have been a great friend to Ukraine through this war. You guys really have. The F-16s, the pilots, the humanitarian assistance, the energy assistance. The Dutch have every reason to be proud of their response in this crisis. Their government's response in this crisis, in my opinion. Hey, Mr. Local. Buonasera, Vittoria. Cake Boy and Banjo. Hey, Linda. Mycella. Hey, Dan. Hey, Clive Sutton. How's everybody doing tonight? We got a Darth Vader here? Is that what I just saw? Darth Vader. Hey, Martin. Hey, Sandra. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm doing just fine. Bjorn's having a rum and cola, are you, Bjorn? Very nice. Illinois is in the house. Tennessee is in the house. I saw Florida before. Canada is here. Netherlands are here. Hey, George. Kadal. Hey, Little Red. Hey, Paul. Some folks from down under. Sweden is here. Well, Bjorn is here, right? He's our lead Swede. Our lead Swede. Oh, Little Red, this app is glitchy. And now that America's pried part of it away from the main body, who knows what's going on. Hey, Jan Halverson, Andy, good evening. Hey, Linda. I'm still in Norway. Hey, Birdie B. Still in Norway, and I'm going to be here for a little bit more. Boston. I used to live in Alston, right on Alston Ave, between Com Ave and Brighton. I feel the need for Swedes. I feel the need for Swedes. How is everybody doing? It is Friday, PGI Friday, TGIF. I don't think our sponsor doesn't generally come to the lives. She was in the other night. She's a longtime friend of the channel, her and the husband, Tony. Beatricella. I didn't see her come in, but if we see her, everybody give her a thanks. She is the sponsor of tonight's live. And Mike Arna, a longtime friend of the channel from the very early days. Hey, Tom Dunleavy. Hey, Guy. Good evening. Hey, Joe, what do you know? Joe likes to tease me, son of a bitch. He sent me a picture of an absolutely beautiful Taylor ham, egg, and cheese the other day. And I was telling him that I had a good bagel, which is very hard to get in Ukraine, I got to tell you. Very hard to get a good bagel in Ukraine. But I was in Germany, and I had a great egg and cheese sandwich on a bagel. I'm being warned about, I am restricted. My live has been restricted for harassment and bullying. Unbelievable. Who have I harassed and bullied so far? Who have I harassed and bullied? Because I said you can't get a good bagel in Ukraine? I'm sorry, that's just true. That is absolutely true. Anybody who grew up on New York bagels understands that you cannot get a decent bagel in the entire country of Ukraine. And that is just a fact. Who did I bully? God, the trolls are at it already. The trolls are absolutely at it already. Hey, Gary. Hey, Terry. It's the Russians. Yeah, it certainly is. Hey, TK's daddy. Oh, God. All right, guys, it's Friday. And I'll bet it's hard to make a decent bagel. It is unsurprising to me that in Cyprus you can't get a decent bagel as well. That is completely unsurprising to me. The mods can put that one right there at the top of the list of suspects. Hey, Jan. How's everybody doing? It's that damn Sasquatch. Don't badmouth Sasquatch around me. I love a Sasquatch. Some of the best chess players in the world are the Sasquatches. Which you may find odd, but let me tell you, nobody plays chess like a Sasquatch, except unicorns. Unicorns are better chess players even than the Sasquatch. But I don't think I ever won a game of chess against a Sasquatch. They're brilliant strategists. Hey, Kurian. Huh, that's weird. All right, well, whatever. All right, so, my friends, where shall we begin? Last night, we saw the Russians send 187 drones against the territory of Ukraine. Of those, 165 were shot down according to the Ukrainian armed forces. Hey, Daryl Roberts. Hey, Renvox. That's an 89% interception rate. Hey, Weibo, how you doing, buddy? But the question that we should ask ourselves is, the night before it was 400. Why wasn't it 400 last night? Why isn't it 400 every night? Because they can't do it. When they want to do one of those big 400 nights, they got to save up. We've seen at least 16,000 drones of the Russian Federation destroyed in the warehouses before they could even be deployed to the front line in the last couple weeks. Not to mention hits against the drone facility in Tatarstan, which may have affected production. We don't know. We don't have a good damage assessment on that one. It's been cloudy. We can't get satellite images. If the Russians could send 1,000 drones a night at Ukraine, they would. The fact that they don't do it tells you what you need to know about the supply chain issues inside of Russia, inside of the Russian Federation. This is Ferris mineral water. Of course it is, right? The only thing I drink during the live is tea or mineral water. The fact that they don't send 1,000 drones a night tells you everything that you need to know about the supply chain issues that the Russians are having. They can't produce them fast enough. Now, look, I'm not suggesting that the Russians are running out of drones. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting that the Russians aren't, according to all of our best intelligence sources, producing upwards of 12,000 Shaheds a month. 12,000 Shaheds a month. And decoys, about 50-50. Decoys and drones. But that's double what they were producing last August. Double, when it was 5,400 a month, with about half of those decoys. Clive, I think you're right. Where the Russians are really suffering is that they're running out of men, they're running out of equipment, and they're running out of money. That's where they're suffering. And on the money front, we know they're running out of money because, well, the Ministry of Finance publishes some financial data. They hide a lot of it from us so that we don't know the extent of how bad things are. But one of the things that we should all be keeping our eye on as we move into 2026 is the ruble. The ruble has been, on paper, one of the best performing currencies in the world for the last 18 months or so. Remember, it's 18 months ago that we saw the ruble bopping around badly, and it spiked up to 115 rubles to the dollar. Today, it's sitting right at about 80, 79, 80. We expect that to change in the near term. Why? Everybody that follows this channel knows that the reason that the ruble has been one of the best performing currencies in the world for the last year or so is because the Russians prop it up by buying rubles in the marketplace. Nobody wants them. It's a dead currency. So when the Russians do international trade in yuan or in US dollars, and that foreign currency comes in, what does the government do? They force businesses to not hold on to that foreign currency. If you're an importer and you're being paid in yuan or in dollars or in euros, you can't hold that currency. You are forced to buy rubles with it. And then, of course, the government, with its oil and gas revenues, which also largely come in yuan or in United Arab Emirates dirhams, that money goes to buying rubles in the marketplace and propping up the value of the ruble. The Russians are going to stop doing it. The Russian central bank has announced that it is not going to be buying rubles anymore. That is going to be a shock in the marketplace. That is going to drive the value of the ruble down. Now, what are they doing with that oil and gas revenue in foreign currencies that's coming in if they're not going to be buying rubles? It's all going into the sovereign wealth fund, or purportedly, it's going into the sovereign wealth fund. And that's because, of course, the sovereign wealth fund has been badly depleted. At the start of this war, there was nearly $200 billion in that sovereign wealth fund. We saw it drop to as low as 34 billion US equivalent recently. And then the Russians sold all that gold and it was back up to about 57 billion. So they brought in some money selling the gold. The thing is, you can only sell that gold once. That's it. Now the gold is gone. Whatever cash they spent from those sales is gone. And the rest is sitting in the sovereign wealth fund. So as I understand it, right now the sovereign wealth fund is at about $57 billion. Down from about 179 at the start of the conflict. Start of the full-scale invasion, rather. Pardon me. Because as our buddy Dusty correctly pointed out the other night, this conflict is not 4 years old. This conflict is 12 years old in its, right? It's only 4 years of the full-scale invasion, which is a very different thing. The Russians are running out of men. The Russians are running out of money. The Russians are running out of equipment. How do we know the Russians are running out of men? Because the Russians lost 38,000 men last month in Ukraine and only recruited 25,000. That's a 13,000 man deficit. You can't run a war with a 13,000 man deficit. Not only are the Russians losing all of the experience, all of the skills of those who have been on the front, and bringing in new raw recruits that don't have those skills. They're bringing in less of them than there were to begin with. So while 6 months ago, they could lose 38,000 men, but they were recruiting 38,000 men. So you had, at least on paper, an equivalent number of troops, though you lost all that institutional knowledge. Today, they can't even do that. They're running out of money, they're running out of men, and that's the evidence for that. Do you know if you had $1 billion and used it at $1 million per month, it would last 83 years? It's a great figure, Kurian. It's a great figure. The thing is, we know that the Russians are spending at least $300 million a day on this war. This war is costing the Russians minimally $300 million a day. That's $1 billion every 3-4 days. At least. There are days where the Russians lose $1 billion in equipment. There are days that the Russians lose $1 billion in equipment on top of the fixed costs of the war. On the subject of the Russians running out of men and money, how else do we know the Russians are running out of men and money? Dr. K, who is a friend of this channel and who many of you will know and many of you follow, Dr. K just did a great piece where 39% of the Russian military budget for personnel is currently being spent on death benefits and disability benefits. 40% of the personnel budget of the Russian Federation Army is being paid to an army of the dead. And unlike in Lord of the Rings, these guys aren't coming back to save Gondor. That's not a thing. Not a thing. The Russians are running out of men, the Russians are running out of money, and the Russians are running out of equipment. At the beginning of this war, the Russians had every advantage. Every advantage. They had the entire inherited Soviet stockpile. Tens of thousands of tanks, tens of thousands of armored personnel carriers. They're gone. They're gone. You've got today Russians going into battle on motorcycles, bicycles, e-bikes, donkeys, horses, and mules because they don't have the equipment left. Kurian says they also had the largest stockpile of stupidity. You know, shit like that would be funnier if these bastards weren't so dangerous, cruel, and callous. If they weren't doing the evil that they do every day to the Ukrainian people. And to people all over the world, by the way. Chet correctly asserts at least one camel. At least two, Chet. We know of at least two military camels. One was rescued by the Ukrainians down in the Zaporizhia area. That is the way it's going. That is the way it's going. One of the interesting things on the subject, just on the subject of Russian stupidity and the Russians doing things that are dangerous and reckless and illegal, right? That are war crimes. And that then come back to bite them in the ass. There was some great reporting that I saw today. And I apologize, I can't even think of who it was who reported this. It wasn't Ukraine the latest. But the reporting went something like this. The constant attacks against Ukrainian energy infrastructure has led to an unstable grid, right? The grid is unstable. We have rolling blackouts across the country. You have periods of no power in every major city, every major settlement across the country. The Russians just lost Starlink. They are now dependent on Ukrainian SIM cards and Ukrainian cell phone towers. And increasingly they are finding that their own campaign against Ukrainian energy infrastructure means that the very cell towers that they depend on are not powered. And so there is this compounding effect where the loss of Starlink has meant a loss of communication and coordination, and their backup to their own cell phones again doesn't work because there's no signal. There's no signal. And that right there is a wonderful irony of this war. A wonderful irony. Now, of course, the campaign against Ukrainian energy infrastructure is a war crime. It is a terror campaign designed to quell or cow the Ukrainian population into submission. And it has failed. It has absolutely failed. Jay in Kyiv, who some of you may know from Twitter, or you might follow him on YouTube, Jay in Kyiv. He was playing a video from a Russian mill blogger who was complaining about these very things today. That the strikes against energy infrastructure in Ukraine have failed. It has done nothing but steal the Ukrainian will against the Russian occupier. And the Russians are not done committing war crimes, videotaping it, and putting it up on Telegram. Ukrainiform today is reporting and published video from the Phoenix unit of the State Border Guards that shows hell on earth. And a recent attack of using white phosphorus munitions against the town of Kostianivka. This is in the Donetsk region. It's right between Pokrovsk. It's right between Pokrovsk and Kramatorsk. So just northeast of Pokrovsk, almost on a level with Dobropilla. And the video is stunning. I mean, it's just hundreds and hundreds of white phosphorus munitions dropping on this village that contains, we believe, about 2,000 civilians. And white phosphorus, of course, is banned under the Chemical Weapons Treaty. And it burns. White phosphorus burns. It burns everything that it touches. You, the house, the car, whatever it lands on, it burns. And the long-term health effects of exposure to white phosphorus are bad. They're very bad for anybody. Now, somebody last night in the live said the Russians are doing chemical attacks. And I don't know if they were talking about this, right? It so often happens in the live. Someone will say something, but we don't have any details. And then the next day I'll see something, oh, I wonder if that's what they were talking about. So I don't know if they were talking about this attack last night, if they knew about this. Most of the reporting on this is less than 10 hours old now. So it's hard for me to say. But if whoever that was last night was talking about this, is it 5,000 degrees, Weibo? Whew. That is some bad shit. Terry says, yes, they're using white phosphorus and gas, and we know they're using gas, right? We've got over 4,000 documented instances of the use of CS gas and chloropicrin, which is an irritant gas that causes severe lung damage and can even lead to lung collapse, and again is banned under the Chemical Weapons Treaty. Do you put any stock in reports of orc military commanders subtly resisting Kremlin orders? Subtly resisting Kremlin orders. I mean, I haven't seen any such reports. I don't know of any such reports. Quite the contrary. What I see is frontline commanders pushing their men, throwing their men's lives away in a desperate attempt to fulfill Kremlin orders. That's what I see. Yes, the Russians are using chemical warfare in the form of white phosphorus, CS, and chloropicrin. That we know of. There's at least that much. There were some assertions probably about 3 years ago now about some other chemical agents being used as well. But I don't know whether or not we really got any hard evidence for that. They used it in Syria, sure, they use it all the time. George, you're not wrong. Now, while the Russians are committing war crimes with white phosphorus against civilians in Kostianivka, the Ukrainians are pounding the energy infrastructure of Belgorod, Belgorod, the red-headed stepchild of the Russian Federation, where that Vladimir Putin has not even acknowledged 1 million people are without power and heat in today, while even as the governor is calling for mass evacuations of the region. Last night, again, a thermal power plant in Belgorod became the target of a HIMARS attack. Now, it seems to me or rather, it gives me no pleasure to see 1 million Russians sitting in the dark without heat in the middle of winter. It gives the Ukrainians no pleasure either. I'm sure, well, maybe a little pleasure. Because, of course, the Russians have been doing it to the Ukrainians for so long. This is the 4th winter that the Russian strikes on energy infrastructure in Ukraine have left millions of Ukrainians without power, without heat, without water for extended periods of time. It's the weaponization of winter. And nobody is happy to see it, except, of course, the evil Russians. It is good, though, to see the Ukrainians giving back to the Russians what the Russians have so freely handed out to the Ukrainians for 4 winters running. Peter, I've seen the exchange of POWs from orcs to Ukraine. They disgust me, a breach of the Geneva Convention. Guy, I can't even talk about how the Ukrainians in captivity are treated on this channel, because I would be banned for life. What is done to the Ukrainians in captivity is sheer evil. And the Russians glory in it. They love it. They are so weak, so abused by those above them, that when they have a chance to abuse others, they love it. And they go at it full force. They think they've earned it. It is pure evil. And it's one of the reasons the Russians are so unwilling to surrender so often, because they know what they do to POWs, and they assume that it's going to be done to them. Because liars assume that everybody lies, right? Sadists assume that everybody is a sadist. Those who want to hurt people assume that everybody wants to hurt them. Did I see reports today of Russian negotiator team mocking Trump? No, but there is so much to mock. Who can blame them? I mean, it is obscene to me that we seem unable to deal with this traitorous piece of shit who is destroying America as we know it. Right, Erling? People have accidents with windows when they deny orders in Russia, or their airplanes crash. Yeah, I don't know of any, I don't know what you're talking about when you say reports of Russian commanders subtly disobeying Kremlin orders. I have no idea what you are talking about. I see exactly the opposite. Yeah, Georgie, you're probably right. It's not the Ukrainians that are freezing to death. Oh, you mean civilians in their homes? Quite a lot. Or if they have, right, most notably among the civilians in their homes that have frozen to death from this winter campaign was a Holocaust survivor. A Jewish Ukrainian fella who survived the Holocaust, the nightmare of, I forget the name of the camp in Kyiv that the Russians set, or that the Germans set up, but as a child he survived the horrors of that camp, only to freeze to death in his apartment at the hands of the Russians. They are barbaric. And there were lots of excess deaths because of this lack of heat and cold. A lot of older people who suffered coronary events or succumbed to influenza or one of the other viral infections that are going around, or people like me, right, who contracted a common virus, which then morphed into pneumonia, and they weren't in a position to get someplace where it was warm and died from it. I don't have numbers on how many, but you can be sure it's not dozens. It's hundreds across the country. You can be sure it's hundreds. You do have to admire Ukraine for obeying the rules of war and staying in line with the Geneva Convention, right? The Russian provinces are running out of money. We know that they have suspended sign-up bonuses for special military operation contracts in 11 federal states of the Russian Federation because they're broke. They are broke. Now, our buddy Steve Rosenberg, the BBC Russia desk editor, brought us some interesting tidbits from Nezhevaya Gazetia today. This is from the Russian paper Today. In NG, they printed these words, quote, "The 2026 federal budget is based on a price of $59 a barrel," on the subject of the Russians running out of money. Based on a price of $59 a barrel Urals crude. But in reality, Russian oil fell short of this level for almost the whole of last year. In January 2026, Urals crude cost only $41 a barrel, $18 shy of the Russian federal budget requirement. $18 shy. Roughly 2/3. That's a third of the budget that's going missing. And right, Ivan, the Chinese are paying less. The Chinese may be buying lots of Russian oil right now, but they are squeezing the Russians for every bit of it. Nezhevaya Gazetia went on to say that according to sociologists of the Institute of Socio-Political Research of the Russian Academy of Sciences, the latest polling shows a majority of Russians are extremely concerned by rising food prices. 79% of Russians are extremely concerned by rising food prices. 77% of Russians are extremely concerned by rising communal and utility tariffs. The price of energy is skyrocketing inside of Russia. 74% by the high cost of living, 71% by high inflation, and only 62% are extremely concerned. Again, extremely concerned is the category, by negative impacts of the SMO on Russian society, the special military operation right? The official name of the war in Ukraine by the Russian government, given to it by the Russian government. Russians are worried about their future, and well, they should be, because they don't have one. Vladimir Putin has mortgaged the future away in this senseless war that he cannot win. Yeah, Paul, I just muted Deep Blue. I did mute them, yeah. I don't like their comments. Their comments have an edge of the Russian troll. Conspiracy theory and bullshit. The subject here is Ukraine. So yes, Deep Blue is muted for now. Stay on topic. Maybe you'll come back. Otherwise, please go somewhere else with your nonsense. Okay. So guys, that's it for me. That's my top line stuff today. Questions, comments, big thanks to Cynthia and Tony, who are the sponsors of tonight's live. Even though I don't think Beatrice Sella is here. If you are, let yourself be known so that we can all say thank you. Even if she was, she probably wouldn't. Prove me wrong, Cynthia. Prove me wrong. So big thanks to our sponsor tonight. Big thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server, Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces, and Lars, who has the Discord server, as well as the best moderator team on the Tickety Talk, Feisty, Maddie, Pete, and Travis. Thank you, guys. Was the camel rescued on hump day? Ha, 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 ha. I don't know the answer to that. How is the power grid in Kyiv? Is it warmer at least? I am not back there yet, Yvonne. I am really hoping to get back next week. I'm hoping to be out of here on Wednesday. Is what I'm hoping I'm hoping to be out of here on Wednesday or Thursday. When's the 5th? Thursday, I think. I'm not sure. I have to look at the calendar. But I want to be back in time on the 7th for a friend's birthday party. Definitely by the 8th for a friend's show. She's got a show, a friend of mine. British and French paratroopers are preparing for a possible peace mission in Ukraine. God, I wish they'd come for a war mission. I mean, that's what we could really use them for, you know. Do Russia soon run out of money? We hope so. Thursday's the 5th. Yeah. Oh my gosh, the best people in Norway. Really, really nice country. Cannot recommend it enough. Had a beautiful day out on the fjord today with Arna. He showed me around. We were out on the boat. A lot of seabirds. A lot of wildlife. Really gorgeous. I was going to say something else too. Let me see. What else was I going to say? Yeah, I'm hoping that Russia runs out of money by June. June, July. That's really what I'm hoping. People in Kyiv are telling me, so a friend of mine told me yesterday that for the last 2 weeks when she goes home from work, she's had power every day. And that power is on most of the day these days. That's good news. Ha ha ha. McNally said it right, Arn. Thanks for putting up with Peter. Not putting Peter up, but putting up with Peter. That's about right. Yeah. Gold, gems, oil, etc. The thing about selling gold, gems, and that kind of thing is you can only sell them once, and then the family jewels are gone. Yeah, it does seem to be better. Good night, Joe. How will that collapse begin in Russia? Will it be fast, slow? Can we look for signs? Well, Joe, we're talking about the signs already, right? I mean, we've been talking about the signs for the last 3 years, and now we're seeing them come true. The Russians can't afford to keep buoying up the currency. They've come to a decision point where they have to either put the money in the sovereign wealth fund or keep buying currency. The financial collapse driven by the collapse of oil prices. We've been talking about that for 3 years. It's finally happening. The signs are all there. And they're coming, right? They're coming to pass. So how will it begin? It begins slowly, right? How do you go broke? Slowly at first and then all at once. There is a systemic collapse coming to the Russian economy. If somebody doesn't bail them out, somebody like their buddy Trump doesn't bail them out fast, there is a systemic collapse coming. I think so, Anthony. The question of whether or not Trump would actually bail out Russia, to me, it's like the Molotov-Ribbentrop pact. When Russia and the when the Soviet Union and the Third Reich agreed to split up Europe, both of them agreed to it, but secretly planned to betray the other. I think it's exactly the same with Trump and Putin. I think that they agreed to split the world up between them, and that both of them are planning to betray the other when it's convenient for them. So when Putin is at his weakest, when he needs Trump to act on his behalf the most, that's when Trump will stab him in the back. And that'll be the end of it. Thanks, Arna. First your money, then your clothes. That's how it goes. Will Russia be able to launch a big offensive in spring? No. No. There's no way Russia's going to be able to launch any big offensives. I think China's going to betray them too. I think China's going to take their piece of Russia and be done with it. I do not ski, Erling. Not since I fell off a chairlift. The price of gold did drop significantly, and it dropped primarily, I think, because the Russians added so many tons of gold to the market. They were dumping like 100 tons of gold. That's a lot of gold into the market. Yeah, they want North Manchuria back, and that's what they're going to take. But I think they're going to take it all the way to Siberia because they have all those investments. The Russians owe the Chinese $170 billion in Belt and Road Initiative investments for oil infrastructure, bridges, railroads, all the way up to Siberia along Lake Baikal. And that's what the Russians want. Or that's what the Chinese want, rather. Chinese support for Ukraine's energy infrastructure is a good sign if it comes through, Guy. At the Munich Security Conference, we had a pledge from Wang Yi, the foreign minister for China, that there would be an energy package forthcoming from the People's Republic to the Ukrainians. But I haven't seen it materialize. And it's a shame, because it's a chance for the Chinese to get a big PR win. And I haven't seen it happen yet. Yvonne is predicting that before March is over, will we see another spiderweb operation? Maybe. That could happen. Belt and Road is a death trap for any country. I mean, yeah, if you can't pay it back, if you're not well organized enough to finish your project and get it making you money so you can pay it off, it's a credit trap, is what it is. A debt trap. Yeah, a debt trap is a better word. It's a debt trap. Okay, guys, we got 5 minutes left. Big thanks to Beatricella and Tony. I'm including Tony. And Beatricella, I'll tell you something. That chick, she used to send me money so that I had food. Not even a joke. There were 3 months there where I was getting the channel up and running, and I literally did not have money for food. And Cynthia would make sure that I could afford some potatoes and onions. Yeah, that was quite a time. That was quite a time. So big thanks to Cynthia for her support. Big thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server, Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group, on the Book of Faces, the best moderator team on the Tickety Top, and of course, my host with the most, Arna, who has taken me in here in Norway. Thank you. Wow, I feel like a stripper. Thanks. Here's a person suggesting that we listen to a pedophile and rapist, Scott Ritter, because he speaks the truth. Right? In the same way that Donald Trump speaks the truth. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. Is anybody in upper echelon of Russian power system getting tired of the war? Yvonne, we don't really know, right? One would assume they are, but they don't seem to be able to do anything about it. Yes, Dan, I definitely am. Tomorrow, or actually in Kyiv, it's already today. In Kyiv, it's already the 28th, which is day 1,466 of the war. Well, the very first broadcast of this channel was day 466. That makes tomorrow the 1,000th day of this channel, which is astonishing to me in so many ways. And I'm very grateful, everybody. And so normally we don't do lives on Saturdays, but I am planning a special Saturday live tomorrow, and I do hope you will join me. Tomorrow will be brought to you really mostly the official sponsors are the ninjas. Those are my Patreon level ninja members, Arna, Chris Carter, and Kiwi. But I'm going to talk about other people who have made this channel possible, like Cynthia, like Weibo, like McNally, without whom none of this would be happening, and to whom I am very grateful. So yeah, Dan, I hope you can drop by tomorrow. Thanks, Jerry-O. Night, Nan. Hope to see you tomorrow. Hello, Mark. Mark, how many hours a day you got power? And what's your heat situation? I assume you have no hot water, right? Nobody in Kyiv has city hot water. You only have hot water if you have a boiler. So I'm just wondering, yeah, Scorpio, I'm in Norway this past week and next week. So Mark, how many hours a day you got power, would you say? Hey, Mad Mike, where you been? It'll be at the usual time tomorrow, Alice. Night, Anthony. Night, Kurian. Regular time, Carol. Live at 5. Night, Ann. Night, Lola. About 8 hours of electricity, and I have heat as of now. Right on. That is better than it was. That is better than it was. I'm hoping to be home by about this time next week. That's when I'm hoping to be back. Reminds you of the days of CB radio, does it, good buddy? Why is that? Because there's a bunch of people with personalities here? Yeah, Paul, if you know that deep blue asshole, please tell me what I got wrong. Paying $5 a gallon for gas in California. What the fuck does that have to do with Ukraine? Fuck off. Stay on topic. Oh, the handles, the many handles. I got you, good buddy. Victoria thinks I'm funny. No, really. I mean, come on. We have one topic here. It's fucking Ukraine. And see, the thing about a comment like that, about the price of gas in California, is that it's anti-democratic rhetoric in the U.S. It's pro-Trump bullshit, is what it is. And it has no place here. None. None at all. So Deep Blue, if you're still listening, you're a fucking asshole. And I don't want you here. MAGA cultists can fuck right off. These fucking people. Completely fact-proof. Oh, hey, Bobby. When did you sneak in? I didn't see you all night. How you doing? Exactly. Go live in Russia. You want a fascist police state? Go live in Russia. Why are you trying to make America like Russia? Oh, and look, the bitches are complaining because I'm getting fines here. All right, that's it. I'm calling it a night before I get banned. And I can't do my special tomorrow. All right, ladies and gentlemen, make it a great day and have a pleasant tomorrow. Monolith has a great question here. Let's just touch base on this because this is right on topic. Do you suspect the U.S. supply of weapons that Europe has been providing Ukraine will dry up if there is war in Iran? You put that beautifully. You didn't say the weapons the U.S. has been supplying, because since Trump has come along, the U.S. has supplied no weapons. But they have permitted the Europeans to purchase weapons for the Ukrainians. I think as long as we have weapons to sell, the sale of those weapons will continue. Now, I am not educated enough to know where the gaps are, where what Ukraine needs versus what the U.S. has is running low, right? So I can't identify where the stress points will be. What I can say is that the Ukrainians are increasingly self-sufficient, where the Russians have become increasingly dependent on others, like the Iranians and the North Koreans. The Ukrainians have become increasingly self-sufficient. And what we saw today, the Ukrainians released video of the successful tests of their new ballistic missile, the FP7 from Firepoint, the same people who make the Flamingo. So should American weapons dry up, like, say, ATACMS, the belief is that the FP7 will replace the U.S. ATACMS. The Flamingo. I mean, the U.S. never even supplied Tomahawks. But the Flamingo has a bigger payload than the Tomahawks and a longer range, I think, or about the same. So what it seems to me, Monolith, is happening is that the Ukrainians are evolving capabilities so that they don't have those dependencies on foreign weapons. And that is probably the best thing that they could possibly be doing right now, because the U.S. is an unreliable partner under Trump. Terribly, terribly unreliable. One would say the best that we could hope from the Trump administration is that they do not actively damage Ukraine. That's the best we can hope from the Trump administration. Not that they will be helpful, that they will not actively work against Ukraine. Uncle Christopher, I don't know what you're reading, but I doubt very much that that is true. I doubt it very much. Patriot Pack 3 missiles are the big pinch point. The Ukrainians, though, we know, just got a load of them in. Thank God. So we shall see. We shall see. But it's a great question. That's a great question, Monolith. Not what's the price of gas in California? Shut the fuck up. Ugh. Okay, kids. Have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow. Join me tomorrow for 1,000 days. I'll talk to you later.